Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our first story is about a bride who just wanted to celebrate her big day with the people she loves, but when she opens up about her wedding plans, her best friend of over 20 years completely flips. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. My best friend tried to shame me over my wedding. For context, I, 24-year-old female, and my best friend, 25-year-old female, have been best friends since we were 2. Now, after high school, I decided that I wanted to go and start my own business, so I got a degree in business management while having a small business on the side. After I finished my degree, my business, I put all my time, effort, and savings into growing it, which ended up being a very financially rewarding decision for me, as I now own a very successful business. I met my fiancé, 32-year-old male, 4 years ago, and we got engaged last year, but decided to have a long engagement because I wanted to lose some weight, which he had said I didn't need to do, but was completely supportive of it. My fiancé is an orthopedic surgeon, so we're more than well off. Now, after high school, my best friend was doing a degree in chemistry, but dropped out after 2 years when she became pregnant. I was there helping her out emotionally and financially throughout the whole of her pregnancy, as she decided she didn't want to work through her pregnancy and wanted to become a stay-at-home mom, which I totally supported. However, her husband works a 9-to-5 job in an office, which pays enough for them to get by, but not enough for them to live in luxury. Because of this, me and my fiancé try to help them out the best we can and always let them borrow money when they need it. We help them with the down payment on their house. However, now that we've started planning our wedding properly, we've got a beautiful venue, an open bar, live music, a 3-course meal. I've got the perfect dress. We're paying for all of the bridesmaids' dresses and groomsmen's suits, and we've got beautiful little gift hampers for each of the guests to take home. And overall, we went all out because we can only have this day once. Now, when I was talking to my best friend about this, who's also my maid of honor, she brought up possibly having the same venue for her wedding, which I thought was lovely, but I didn't know if they would be able to afford it. I didn't say that, though. So it was extra awkward when she asked about the price. So I told her it's around $32,000, and she went ballistic, asking how much my whole wedding costs. I really didn't want to tell her, but she ended up getting it out of me, and she went crazy. My whole wedding amounted to about $72,000, which then sent her on a tangent of saying we're so irresponsible spending that much money on one day that her husband only earns $60,000 a year to support the 3 of them, and if she knew we had that much money to just throw around, she would have asked us for more when they were struggling financially earlier on this year. She finished with saying that I'm a horrible friend for not helping her out more, and that she was outraged that we thought it was okay to spend more money on one day than her family gets to live off in a year. She's been sending me messages about how inconsiderate I am, so maybe I did go overboard and spend too much. Update. I feel as if adding that without sounding snobbish, but the amount of money on our wedding really didn't put that big of a dent in our bank account due to the savings we've accumulated, and if we wished, we could have spent a lot more, which I'm pretty sure my friend is aware of, and it only adds to her anger. We don't live in a huge mansion or anything, just a moderately sized house in a nice neighborhood, and try not to flaunt our wealth or push it onto people. We never discuss it and try to digress if the subject is brought up. We donate 10% of our combined earnings to various charities, but I've asked my friend to step down as the maid of honor. I told her she's welcome to keep the dress and any other gifts we've given to the wedding party, but because of her reaction, she's no longer a part of it. And while I do sympathize with her situation, she's not entitled to my financial success, nor is it my fault for her financial instability. I really hope I wasn't too harsh, because she really did help me a lot over the past year with emotional support when I was having family troubles with my brother and mom. She's not treating you as a friend. She's treating you as her bank account. No one has earned the right to demand you spend your hard-earned money on them. The entitlement of this woman is through the roof. At what point does she believe you became responsible for bankrolling her life? If I was you, I'd take a long, hard look at this friendship, followed by a huge step back. And our second story. Cousin uses single mom card to demand bra money from uncle. My mom's younger brother has always been a very supportive uncle to all of his nieces and nephews. He's the youngest of his siblings by more than 10 years, so he's always been someone we could talk to about things that might not be easy to discuss with our parents and such. He and his wife don't have any children, so on top of being there for us on an emotional level, he and his wife have been very generous to us all. When we were in high school, he paid for all the nieces' prom dresses and the nephews' tuxedos and many other things. While we were in college, we each received very generous financial support from them, and they also helped each of us with the down payment on our first home purchase. They continued to be generous when we each started having children and are still generous to us, even now that we're all established adults. Cast of characters: GU, generous uncle; GA, generous aunt, GU's wife; Karen, oldest female cousin; me is obviously me. On to the story. Karen's now 40. Her only child graduated high school last spring and enlisted in the military, so needless to say, she's no longer receiving child support from her ex. She has a well-paying, full-time job, and so does her SO who lives with her. GA was diagnosed with a very serious illness this year, and that's also caused her to suffer from depression. So because of her illness and her suffering from depression, GA is not able to do everything that she once did, and she doesn't get out and around like before. Over Thanksgiving weekend, Karen told me she was upset with GU because she had texted him asking him to take her shopping for new bras at a rather pricey store, and he never replied. Karen wanted to confront him about this at the family get-together, her reason being that when Karen gave birth to her son, GA had taken her shopping for nursing bras, so Karen thought it would be reasonable for GU to take her to buy some new bras because GA doesn't get out and about very often right now. I don't think GA's been buying her bras for all these years because she only mentioned her buying her nursing bras. I talked Karen out of confronting GU at the family Thanksgiving and tried to explain it's not really appropriate for her to ask him to take her bra shopping, but she keeps trying to play the single mother who isn't receiving child support card even though her son is an adult and doesn't even live with her anymore. She just texted me that she had texted GU again about taking her bra shopping, and he's still not replying to her. I suggested she use the very generous Visa gift card we all get from GA and GU at Christmas to buy herself some bras, but of course she has other plans for the gift card funds. I'm just appalled that she even thinks anyone should be buying her bras at this point. Am I the only one who finds her request strange? Honestly, OP, you're completely justified in thinking this is ridiculous. Your uncle and aunt seem like absolute saints. I can't help but feel secondhand embarrassment just reading this. Some people really don't understand boundaries or gratitude. And our last story. Hi, r/pro revenge. Let me tell you what happened to my friends Mark and Jessica 7 years ago in Tempe, Arizona, and how a handful of garden gnomes helped put an entire HOA in its place. It was early Saturday morning when a stranger with a ring of keys showed up on their porch. Polite, but very sure of himself, he announced, "Good morning. I bought this house at yesterday's auction for $180,000. I brought my stuff and plan to move in today." Mark choked on his coffee so hard he nearly sprayed the mailbox. "Sorry, but we haven't sold anything to anyone." The stranger shrugged, produced some paperwork, and muttered, "The HOA foreclosed for unpaid dues, completely legal." "Hold on, man," Mark said, voice trembling as the smile vanished from his face. "This house isn't part of the HOA. You must have the wrong address." "I can show you the county record," the stranger replied, folder quivering in his hand. "I'm not joking. The deed transfer was recorded yesterday at 5 p.m. Jessica glanced at Mark and saw a fear she hadn't even seen after his post-accident diagnosis. In a heartbeat, she stepped in front of the door as if her shoulders alone could hold their home in place. "Give us 5 minutes. We'll be back with our document," she told the stranger, then closed the door before he could reply. Silence filled the hallway, broken only by the hum of the neighbors' AC units. Mark turned to her. "If that deed's real, they really can kick us out today." They sprang into action. Jessica dialed 911. Mark called his attorney buddy Eric, an old National Guard pal. While the calls connected, Mark ran to the safe and yanked out every paid in full receipt since they'd bought the place. Not a single mention of an HOA. The police arrived in 6 minutes. 2 officers listened carefully to both sides. The stranger, Douglas as it turned out, handed over a notarized certificate with the full property description and the Maricopa County clerk's seal. The seal was genuine. One officer asked, "Have you ever received any delinquency notices?" "Not one letter, not even spam email," Jessica answered. The officer logged the statements but warned, "If that court document's valid, we don't have authority to keep a new owner off the property. You'll have to challenge the sale in court." Mark felt something collapse inside his chest. 2 jobs, night gigs, an early paid-off mortgage, everything earned with sweat could vanish because of a mistake or outright fraud. Eric showed up at noon. After skimming the papers, he said only 2 things. 1, gather every receipt, all bank and insurance correspondence, prove there's no debt. 2, file for a temporary restraining order right now. Without it, the sheriff can enforce that deed. While Mark scanned documents, Eric tapped a connection at the property registry. The version they got back was terrifying. 3 years earlier, the local HOA had filed a boundary modification that roped in several lots, and it sailed through unopposed because none of the new members knew they'd been added. With tacit court approval, the amendment went into the bylaws, and soon after, fees started accruing. Mark and Jessica, like everyone else on their street, never got a single notice because the HOA mailed letters to non-existent boxes. 32B instead of 32. The letters were returned marked refused. On paper, that was enough to call the owners properly notified. Next morning, the couple and Eric appeared in county court. The judge, a former Air Force officer, grilled the HOA rep on why no addressee had signed for a letter. The stock reply, "We complied with the bylaws." Then Eric dropped a folder on the lectern, photos of the mailboxes, proof there is no B suffix on the street, bank statements, and crucially, a USPS report that no such address exists. The judge looked up. The same typo on every envelope? Remarkable coincidence. Temporary restraining order granted, full hearing in 2 weeks. For the first time in 2 days, Mark exhaled, but they still had to void the sale. Eric, meanwhile, unearthed the HOA's meeting minutes from 3 years back. They bore the signatures of Karen Vanderbrook, the HOA president. The yes column also contained signatures of people who'd moved away or died. Falsification was obvious. Around that time, Karen landed in her own scandal, stealing garden gnomes from sweet old Mrs. Ruth. No joke. The grandma's blood pressure spiked and EMTs rushed her to the ER. Police photos showed the gnomes in Karen's shed. A petty theft case plus bodily harm enhancements, civil court gold, showing the exemplary honesty of the HOA head. Final hearing day. The courtroom crackled. At stake were not only Mark and Jessica's house, but the legality of every annexed lot. Eric presented 2 main points, lack of actual notice and forged vote records. The HOA's counsel tried procedural attacks. The judge calmly nodded toward Karen's ongoing criminal case and said, "An organization chaired by someone under investigation for fraud deserves closer scrutiny." After 4 hours of witness and expert testimony, the judge ruled, 1, the bylaw amendment is void due to inadequate notice and forged signatures. 2, the sale of Mark and Jessica's home is canceled. 3, the HOA must compensate the plaintiffs $260,000, $210,000 for actual costs, and $50,000 for emotional distress. 4, the fraud dossier is forwarded to the state prosecutor. Douglas, the would-be buyer, publicly apologized and by agreement won the right to sue the HOA separately to recoup his money and legal fees. He shook Mark's hand. "At least now I know who really owns the house." Within days, Karen was removed from the board and most residents filed to leave the association. While the HOA scrambled to survive, the couple focused on peace. Mark reinforced the porch with new brackets and installed cameras, but the real upgrade was mental. They now knew how quickly boundaries could be crossed and how vital it was to fight back immediately. Returning Mrs. Ruth's gnomes, Jessica told her, "We couldn't stop the heart scare, but we can give you back what's yours. They'll be under guard now." Mrs. Ruth hugged a gnome to her chest and whispered, "Thank you. You saved more than a house. You saved my faith that honesty still matters." Mark, hearing those words, squeezed his wife's hand. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the red Arizona hills, he finally let himself believe the danger had passed. But the memory stayed like a vaccine. If anyone ever tried to take their home again, they'd meet a team ready to fight to the finish. Somebody might even think they're going to sell a man's house, and he's like, "Well, we'll just leave it as it is and move out. Here are the keys." Weird Karen. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.